Cheers, guys. Epix911, welcome to the Elitist Geek VR news for Wednesday, December 14th, 2016. Let's jump right into VR, guys. Start with some preamble. I want to talk about the channel and the video that I uploaded yesterday. So, those of you who watched my video from a couple of days ago, you know I got a new camera, the Sony FDR AX33. Constantly trying to improve the quality on the channel for you guys, obviously, and for myself. Started with audio. While I've been 1080p, the Logitech webcam left a lot to be desired. If you look at that 1080p now, especially compared to this camera, it's blurry as all hell, washed out, not very vibrant. So that was next. That's why I purchased the camera. I couldn't leave well enough alone. You know, Murphy being Murphy, I get a little ambitious, and I thought I'd use the camera yesterday. Well, you guys know what happened. Those of you who saw my first upload of the video, it had this really strange frame rate issue. I tried every single export format in the free video editor program I was using, which is VSDC. I've been using that from the beginning of the channel. It's been, pretty good, but it's also free. And sometimes free does mean it doesn't have the same quality as a commercial product. That was definitely the case because it did not play nice with those Sony proprietary MTS files. And I figured, you know what, instead of waiting until the weekend, I am going to just baptism by fire, learn Adobe Premiere Pro within the next 30 minutes, at least to the point of those things that I know how to do in VSDC, picture-in-picture, the intro, outro, splitting files, all that kind of stuff. Figured it all out within about 20-25 minutes, uploaded the video, and again, I think most of you agree, much better, frame rate addressed. I'm going to try to leave experimenting like that, guys, for videos that I do not upload directly to YouTube. That was the mistake I made yesterday. I'm not going to repeat that because I want as much as possible to have routine and not change it up constantly for you guys. And if I'm going to change it up, make sure it frickin' works. So I just wanted to get that out there that I will be making sure that I, a little bit more due diligence in making sure that I test stuff before going right to live. As an IT guy, that's kind of like the 101 I should know. Don't always, I preach, but don't always practice. So let's jump into news. Google is getting behind a British startup called Improbable, who are basically hoping to, and this is a pretty lofty goal, recreate the real world in virtual reality. Now, the company Improbable was formed by two friends, two Cambridge students, backed by, get this, just small paltry sum of $20 million US. The by far largest investor of that 20 million being Andreessen Horowitz, and their engine is called SpatialOS. Now, their claim to fame with this engine is that it's able to procedurally, which is just a fancy way of saying randomly generate worlds. While they are focusing towards application in VR gaming, this can create worlds for anything, any kind of application. And it does just amazing work recreating biology ecosystems. It's just a damn impressive program. So it's no wonder that people are, got behind this to the tune of that much money. I'm going to be really interested in seeing what SpatialOS is capable of. We're going to see it on Rift, Vive, likely, hopefully within the next little while. They do plan on running this atop of Google's cloud service, so it should be fairly self-sufficient and fairly intuitive to run and get started with. So definitely looking forward to that. That has some really damn good potential, especially for, RPGs or even flying games like the No Man's Sky style game, albeit with maybe some more better gameplay elements. Fantastic. It would definitely benefit a game like that. All right, next up, Unity's InVR game editor launches tomorrow, December 15th. So this news was posted via blog. Timoni West, who is the principal designer at Unity Labs, announced that EditorVR will launch tomorrow, December 15th, and goes on to say that the initial launch is being considered, quote-unquote, experimental. And the reason for that is they want to be able to provide a robust VR interface for Unity that can support both HTC Vive and Rift. So they've got a long way to go in terms of testing and stability. Tomorrow is just a first big public step, but by no means final. They just want to be able to drill that home. If you have stability issues, that's why. This thing is huge, ambitious, and when it's able to do what it's claiming it's going to be able to do, is going to be pretty damn amazing, because you can create VR games within a VR environment, and just having that extra access to work off of. We looked at that with stuff like Quill or Tilt Brush, the ability, those programs storyboarding VR because they're in that same environment. Same goes with this editor, all kinds of possibilities. I, for one, am pretty damn excited. Can't wait to see what it's capable of. Next up, and this kind of follows on the heels, I'm not huge on the conspiracy front, but if you look at the events of last week, where Magic Leap was basically called to task by several news websites for perhaps overselling Magic Leap, meaning maybe they weren't as far along as they led us to believe they were. So hot on the heels of that, the head of public relations at Magic Leap leaves to join a stealth startup. There was a posting about this on their website, which reads as follows. Andy Fouche will no longer serve as VP of Public Relations for Magic Leap, Inc. As we sprint full steam ahead towards the launch of Magic Leap 1, we are excited to have Brenda Freeman on board as Chief Marketing Officer. We are creatively aligned, and she has already brought fresh energy, excitement, unbounded joy, and opportunity to those who choose to play on our team. Is that a shot across Andy's bow? Perhaps. To me, it sure reads like it, that perhaps this wasn't a mutual thing and came fairly unexpected. But anyways, he leaves less than a week, like I said, after the article from The Information, which started it all, and agreed it's probably not the most trustworthy of sites, not to imply they don't write real articles, just saying, they're no massive, large news conglomerate, and a lot of the evidence was pretty flimsy at the time. But then again, lots of websites echoed this. Either way, he's gone, and speculation is exactly as I laid out. All right, next up, Chrome on Android is getting experimental WebVR support. The search giant Google launched the WebVR API on Chrome for Android in a test state. To get started with it, developers need to sign up to the Origin trial. You can do this online. This allows devs to enable WebVR on Android version of Chrome, and anyone using the browser on a smartphone can then take a look at it. The API gives certain mobile VR headsets access to WebVR content through that Android app. This includes Google's own offering, of course, the Daydream View. There's also a Gamepad API, which enables the use of motion controllers with the web's interface. View owners can use the Daydream controller, which essentially acts as a VR mouse, much in the way it already does for native Daydream apps like YouTube and Street View. Being able to intuitively interact with the web from inside Daydream could one day be a major feature for the ecosystem, though this is merely testing those waters. But still, some nice progress. I can't wait to see. One of the things that they tout with WebVR is, imagine certain VR apps, you need to launch those separately. With WebVR, stuff like just going to that app's website could launch the application. So some amazing potential to just revolutionize the way in which we use the internet. And this would be, at least for me, the first real step away from, let's face it, GeoCities website style deployment, which really hasn't changed much. Sure, the websites look a little better, the technologies have changed a bit, but they're still essentially the same. This is real change and very exciting. Next up, StriVR, StriVR, or StriVR, I think they're called, raises $5 million and adds enterprise VR training. So the company is going into a little bit of a new direction with enterprise VR training business, but they've made it clear that they still are remaining in VR sports training. They just completed this $5 million Series A investment round that was led by Signia Venture Partners with participation from BMW iVentures, Advancit Capital, and Presence Capital to help expand their reach. Now, Derek Belch, he is the co-founder and CEO at StriVR, had the following to say. StriVR's success to date has come from being able to improve reaction time, pattern recognition, and decision-making in athletes, the same outcomes sought by organizations of all types and sizes. And he ends with, we're not leaving sports, but making a pivot to put significant emphasis on VR as a performance learning tool outside of sports. There's a bigger opportunity with enterprise than with sports. You can't blame a company, at least in my opinion, for pursuing a possible market segment that is going to be larger, more stable, help them lay out a proper foundation, and from that foundation continue to service stuff like training, sports training in VR. And not only that, perhaps springboard into other ventures altogether, but again, having that core foundation that's profitable, good, solid, profitable revenue stream is going to be key. All right, guys, that is it for the news. Going to give Arizona Sunshine another try. Like I said, that thing has been just hugely unstable for me. 19 out of 20 easily crash. Sometimes it loads right away. I've never had it crash during gameplay. It's always either loading, where, like I said, it can take 20 freaking tries, or it's during the loading of a new level or new zone, but I've never had it crash to desktop during the gameplay. So it's stable then, but for some frickin' reason that irritates the snot out of me, it's not stable loading or transition. So if there's any of you out there who've had that issue maybe with Arizona Sunshine and you figured it out or have a workaround, please let me know in the comments below. I will be mucho grateful. All right, guys. Cheers as always, and definitely catch you on the VR flip side.